Hey everyone, welcome back to Papa's Workshop. Over the past several years, I have taken a simple box, or maybe you want to call it a drawer, and shown you many different ways on how to make it. Some were very simple joints that I've used, and they were actually very effective. And I did everything from the half lap joints to the box joints and many other different designs. Well, today I've got one more additional way to show you on how to make a very simple little storage box. Now these little parts type boxes are very easy to make. They take less than an hour, and you can batch out quite a few of them. Now I'm not using the CNC machine today. I'm using just one bit. It's a 90-degree V-bit to be able to cut these out on the router table. I want to show you how easy it is to be able to make these little storage boxes, and I think you'll take the opportunity to make a whole bunch of them for your shop. Now the material that we're going to use for this project is just a scrap piece of the masonite that I had left over in my scrap bin. But you can use, quite frankly, just about any thickness of material. Now this material is an 1/8 inch thick. But if you have material that's a 1/4 inch thick or a 1/2 inch, either way, you can still do this simple method. The bit that I'm going to use for this project is a 90-degree V-bit. This is it right here. And that's really the only bit that you're going to need to do this project. With this small piece of masonite that I'm using, I want to make 4 boxes. Now these are going to be 2 inches high, 2 inches wide, and 3 inches deep. The math is real simple. If I want to have the 2 inches on each side and then a 2-inch width, that means I need to cut this 6 inches wide, and that's what I'm doing here. So these 2 pieces now are cut 6 inches wide. So as not to waste the material, I'm going to measure the length and then divide this in half. Now you can make these boxes just about any size that you want to be able to store the different parts that you have. Now I just cut this 6 inches wide. So if it's 6 inches wide, that means it's 2 inches on each side plus the 2 inches in the middle. That gives me my 6 inches. Now as far as the length of this board is about 14 inches. So I'm going to cut this down in half and be able to have a much smaller box. So this is actually going to be perfect. With the 7 inches, that gives me the 2 inches for the sides and 3 inches for the length of the box. And that'll be perfect. And that way, I have my 4 boxes that I wanted to make with this scrap. So the end result, this is 7 inches by 6 inches, and that will give me the end result of a 2-inch by 3-inch box with the 2-inch tall sides. And because I'm going to be making 2-inch sides on my box, I just want to be able to put a piece of tape along that edge. So I'm going to have 2 inches there, 2 inches there, and that is going to be the center line. I'm just going to put a piece of tape along this edge where I'm going to be cutting on this back side. So right there is good. It does not have to be exact. We are going to be cutting almost all the way through the material. And these boxes do not take long to be able to make at all. So that's the one side. We're going to flip around and do the same thing just to give a quick reference. We'll do 2 inches there, or it'll be 2 inches there. And that's really all you need. Do not spend a lot of time doing this because you're going to set up the 2-inch mark on the router table. And this tape actually is going to act as a hinge when we fold this up. There we go. And we're ready to take this over to the router table. I have the 90-degree V-bit in the router now, and I want to set the distance from the fence to the center of that router bit right at 2 inches. So right there is where it needs to be. So from the center point to the edge is the 2 inches. The next thing we want to do is set the height. And I want the height of this to be almost cutting all the way through the material. And I want to raise this up just a little bit more. That actually should be good. When you run this through the router table, Do not use your hands on this, because if you have the depth set incorrectly and you're pushing this through and this bit comes all the way through the material, your hand is going to get cut, and you certainly don't want to do that. So think about safety first on this. Now what I'm going to do is use the push handle from the joiner to be able to run this through. So I have the tape on there to act as a hinge now. I have this set at my 2 inches. Now this push handle will be able to keep our hands safe and free from getting cut, just in case this is actually a little bit too high. As I start to run this material through the router table, it appears to be at a good height. Now here's one thing, if it's still too thick of material that's left over, you can always come back, raise up the bit just a tad more, and run it through a second time. And looking at this, it actually looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and run the next section through. I may need to raise the bit just a little bit more, because the tape should act as a hinge and it should be quite flexible. The one thing that you don't want to do is cut all the way through the material. You want a little bit of that masonite left over. The tape, yes, should be a hinge point, but you still should have some of the actual material there to help act as a hinge as well. The tape is there to be able to give the additional support. Now there's our cuts all the way on all of the different lines that we need, but this actually can still go a little bit deeper of a cut because this is still too much material. We'll raise that up about 1/4 of a turn, and then we're going to run this through again. The beautiful thing about this system is to make adjustments is no big deal, because the only thing that changes is the height of the bit, and you're making a very, very small adjustment. Remember, use that push handle to be able to make sure that your fingers are out of the way and not get cut. But now we're cutting almost all the way through this material, and that's what we want. This will make it where it's going to be flexible and it'll bend, and using the tape as a reinforcement. Now you can see that this is almost all the way through, and this now bends, and that's what we want to have happen. See how that will be flexible and will bend. The next thing we're going to do is take a utility knife and cut out these corners. The start point is right there at that center point, and you can see how that comes out. I'll need to cut that just a little bit more. And that is your waste material. Because this material now is so thin at that center point, it's very easy to cut with a utility knife. Usually just one straight cut will do it. And now I have a box that I can fold up just like that, and I have my box. Let's put some glue on this. The only thing that's left now is we'll put some glue in here. And we'll put the glue on these side pieces. Then all we need to do, using the tape acting as a hinge, pull this up into place. Then I'll take the rubber band and stretch it over on top. I'm going to slide that one down. And this is a small box, so I'm going to actually double up the rubber band and put it right there. And that is the box. Wipe out the excess glue. We'll give this now about a half hour to dry, and I'll take the rubber band clamps off. I'm going to double up this one too, so that's just too loose. There we go. And that gives a lot of clamping pressure on this little box. Now this is without a doubt the quickest, fastest way to be able to make a box. While that glue's drying, I'm going to go ahead and make the other 3 boxes real quick, because it won't take long to be able to do that. The tape doesn't need to come all the way down because you're cutting off that one section, those corner pieces. And this tape works as an excellent hinge to allow you to be able to fold these up into the box. And you can see just how quick that it is to be able to prepare these and get them ready to be able to cut. And this one is ready. So let's spin this around, put the little piece of tape on here. There we go, the other 3 are ready. Let's head back over to the router table. The next 3 boxes will cut very quickly. All the adjustments have been made, the height of the bit is correct, and the fence doesn't move. So these next 3 boxes can be cut in just a matter of a couple of minutes. If I wanted to, I could even make these even faster. Now I used the white glue to put these together, but I could use the CA glue and they'd be dry instantly and it'd be ready to use them. So that's another way to be able to cut down on the time to be able to get the boxes finished and into the drawers. I started doing this organization project and I 3D printed all of the blue ones and they're working out really good. Now these yellow ones are actually from one of the Harbor Freight storage boxes. My wife needed several storage boxes. She didn't need all of the containers, so I reaped the benefit by being able to get the containers. I'm going to need to put additional storage in these other drawers. And once this drawer is completely organized with the different screws and things, I have some additional items that I want to put in the other drawers. Now one of the things that I have found out is 3D printing these story boxes, while they are absolutely great and fantastic, and I really do like them, they do take a long time to print. And I want to be able to get this project done much quicker. So the easiest way to do is to be able to find the scrap masonite in my scrap bin and cut out boxes. As you saw, I made 4 boxes in less than 20 minutes and they're going to work just fine. Now it's great to have this first drawer all done, and yes, I can move them around and do whatever I need. The other drawers that I'm going to use to organize the different parts are going to be with these little masonite boxes that I can make so quick. If I wanted to, I could even make these even faster. Now I used the white glue to put these together, but I could use the CA glue and they'd be dry instantly and it'd be ready to use them. So that's another way to be able to cut down on the time to be able to get the boxes finished and into the drawers. Okay, it's been about a half an hour. The glue is set up as far as clamping, but it's not completely dry. But I'm going to go ahead and take the tape off. You can see the miter joints on these are absolutely perfect. And it's just a cute little box that can be made in a matter of minutes. And it'll store the different parts just as easy as anything else. Very inexpensive and time effective. There's very little sanding that needs to be done, but it actually makes it look a little bit nicer. Hit this with a little bit of sandpaper, and that will be it. Now, if you wanted to take that back over to the router table and just round over the edges a little bit, you certainly could. But for my purposes, I think this is going to be great. In the beginning of the video, I said I was only going to use one bit, so that's what I did. And these little boxes absolutely turned out fantastic. Nice, sharp, clean joints, perfect mitas at the top. That's exactly what I wanted. And it's so cheap and inexpensive and time effective. This took very little time to be able to make. And if I wanted to be able to put this on the CNC machine and mass produce a whole bunch of them, by all means I could. The other nice thing about this is scalable. You can actually make any size that you want very, very easily. And it all starts with the table saw and the idea on what size that you need. But these little boxes are absolutely fantastic. And because I made the outside dimension the 2 inches, this is easily to be able to scale up. So if I wanted a 4-inch box, I could do that very easily, and these would match perfectly in the drawer. These would fit right like that, no problem whatsoever. So again, you can arrange these any way that you want. And as long as you can keep the 2-inch increment, then it's going to work and have it balanced. Now the side of this box is actually 3 inches, but if I wanted to have it scaled exactly, I would have made this 4 inches for an example. And that way this would have been 4 8-inches, but instead this would be 3 and 6, which is still perfectly fine. So you could make a 4-inch by 6-inch box and it would fit perfectly right next to this. So just as long as you keep your measurements in mind, you can make these any size that you want to be able to fit the drawer. If you liked the video today, by all means, give me a thumbs up, subscribe right down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye, everyone.